And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome to the City and Beyond. I'm your host, Kamal Siddiqui, sitting here with my lovely wife, Selena. Selena, say hi to the folks.
Hello. So we're literally, so if you have, a bunch of you have voted, okay, sorry for the messy bed and stuff, but this is very impromptu. We decided to bring this discussion to a live stream because we literally are still having this conversation about whether places count as a country or not. It started off with us wondering if what's the backstory? The backstory is that I said that our son had been to 4 countries, or has been in 4 countries. Maybe I said visited, not sure. And I was like 4, and then he counted. He was like more like 3, and I was like, "What do you mean 3? Wait, actually, is it still 3?" Yeah. Well, this is the discussion. Yeah.
Discussion comes in. Yeah.
So we counted, and he's like, "The U.S. We live in the United States," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's been here, so it counts. And then he was like, "No, it doesn't count." So now I was like, "No, it has to." Like, if we lived in Jamaica and we visited the U.S., the U.S. would count then. He's like, "Yeah, because we don't live there." But I was like, "So Jamaica wouldn't count?" And he said, "No." And I'm like, "So how about it's a destination? At some point, your home country is your destination, right? So you go back there, and you are we're not visiting, but you're going there. You have been there. You are going to be there
for 30 years, and you have a family, and you get a house with 2.5 kids.
So we're like, okay, but I think we agree now that if it's places countries you've been, then you can count it. So
if it's
we
countries you've visited,
then it doesn't count, which we agree on now.
Yeah.
But still, if you haven't done the poll, do the poll, because it's getting really good. It's getting really, really good. So now the conversation is, does places like Puerto Rico count as a country that you visited? I said yes. Kamal said
No.
absolutely not.
No.
But now I think, based on our conversation, well, actually, should we go into Demi what we talked about?
There's not enough people here. We can do whatever we want. Please go.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about what we talked about.
So, we were going back to this been and visited conversation, and for those of you that don't know me,
I love that, like our New York, New Jersey.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know me, I have this quiet crusade that words have meanings, and I feel as though when you say things, they need to mean what you say. So this conversation stemmed from the been and visited aspect of it, because it's like saying, "Oh, I've been to Selena's house." No, I live here. Like there's a very big difference.
Okay.
There's a very big difference, right? As opposed to me asking my friend, and I've visited their house, right? Because I'm not staying there.
Right.
So, all right.
So that's why now we're saying we've been there.
After we got through that, we started counting countries, and we had recently gone to Puerto Rico, and she goes, "Oh, our son has been to another country," and I said, "No, he hasn't." And she was like, "What do you mean? Puerto Rico is a country?" And I said, "It's not another country. It's a U.S. territory."
Which it is. I agree.
Which it is.
Like, obviously,
like, that's
it
not,
is.
That's
not
what's,
debated.
That's not what's in dispute. So, what's in dispute is because of their political history, Selena was saying that they are, in fact, still a country. And I said, if that is the case, then Hawaii is still a country. And she goes, no, it's not a country, it's a state. And I said, I'm not arguing it's a state. I'm saying
it's still a country and a state.
Are there still Native Hawaiians in Hawaii? Yes. Mm-hmm. So are we just erasing their country now because they're a state?
No.
Does Puerto Rico's country get erased when they become a state? If they were to ever become a state, whatever you want to do, Puerto Rico, that's on you, baby. Right?
Yeah, we're not
right.
into
I got lots of friends that are Puerto Ricans. I would never want to take that away from them. However, you are U.S. citizens because you are a U.S. territory.
Well, not all of them.
What, Puerto Ricans?
Yeah, I think those born before like 1941 are not considered Americans.
Those born before 1941 are not considered U.S. citizens?
I believe so. It's
that
that and after, I believe.
Is that accurate?
I don't remember if it's exactly that year.
Not to be morbid, but if that was accurate,
I was about to say most of them. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Phased out.
Yeah, I kind of
figured. Not that I'm wishing that on any of your grandparents, etc.
But that's why. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I'm not looking that up. I don't know that. But okay. So that was just my notion of it, and so then I started giving my reasoning why I believe that going to this U.S. territory is not a country, and one of my examples was, oh, you don't get a stamp on your passport when you go. And so then it's like, well, you don't really get one when you go to Canada either. And I'm like, but I did get one from Canada. Like, that is a thing. Getting a stamp from Puerto Rico is not a thing because it's the United States.
For you. Yeah, for you.
Yeah, for me. But even if someone came from another country, it's going to say Department of Homeland Security, United States. It's not going to say Department of Homeland Security, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Do you know this factually, though?
Buenos Dias.
Do you know what it looks like?
Do I know what their stamp looks like?
Yeah.
No, but they're a U.S.
I'm saying, do you know for sure? Like, do you know what theirs looks like?
What their stamp looks like?
Yeah.
Their stamp looks like the same stamp that we get when we come home.
But do you know that for sure?
I am 75% sure.
Okay, because I was like, I didn't look that up, but that's a good thing to actually consider.
I'm 75% sure solely because whenever you read the descriptor of Puerto Rico, it's essentially like, I mean, you're kind of a state, just, not really. And that's exactly how everything is laid out for a number of empirical colonial reasons. And that's why I'm like, but that means they're not a country. Like, that's just like what it is. So then Selena was like, oh, well, they have their own autonomy and they don't have any representation in Congress.
Yeah.
To which my rebuttal was, Washington, D.C. does have a representative in Congress that doesn't get voting power at all, and they don't have any delegates. Oh wait, no, they have one. They have one delegate for DC, but yeah, they don't have any like true representation in Congress. Like, they just have kind of a person that's there that can say things to them, and I'm like, so is DC not a part of the United States? And she was like, no, I'm not saying that it's not a part of the United States, and my argument is because they are a part of the United States. They are no longer a country. They're a territory. That's all I'm saying.
So basically, now we're in a place where I'm like, after having this long-winded conversation on whether or not Puerto Rico counted, I think whoever that was left, I'll leave anyway.
Sure.
But, I think now, for me, what I'm gonna say is so our son has been to, I believe, 4 different countries, been in 4 different countries and territories. And we, or maybe just me, depending on how he feels about where he's been and what counts and doesn't count, I've been to 17 countries. Been in.
Visited.
No. Been in.
Oh,
I've been in.
Because you're counting the U.S.
Been in 17 countries and territories. So that would include, because what he didn't bring up was that we brought up Martinique, which we've also been to, which is a commonwealth or like a territory
Whatever
of France.
Yeah.
And so it's like technically Martinique is not a country, but I'm like, no, Martinique is a country, but whatever. If it's a territory, it's a territory. I got a stamp from there. So that also by Kamal's standards,
says Martinique.
That says Martinique. So by his standards, it would also be a country.
Mm-hmm.
So, but regardless, I will say 17. I've been to 17 countries and territories, or territory, like together.
Okay.
So that we cover all bases.
Right.
Because I would count Puerto Rico as a place I've been to. I would count Martinique. Even though I was just joking about Canada, I would count Canada, obviously. And where else was in limbo? I guess that was it. For right now. Because we haven't been to Hawaii. But yeah, I feel like the country, territory, just counting them as countries and territories just make it easier.
Does counting them as countries and territories?
No, I'm not asking. I'm saying it makes it easier. Because if Martinique is a territory, if Puerto Rico is a territory, then fine. Like, we've been to X amount of, like, when people say, like, Jessica, when she's been to every country
Mm-hmm.
in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, now I'm wondering, like, did she count some of those places as countries?
No. She used the official list from
She used the official list
from the United Nations and what countries were
recognized by the United Nations.
Yes.
So there's some places she probably just didn't go to because it wouldn't count. And
Correct.
obviously, like, I mean, maybe she's been to it, but she just didn't count it.
Correct.
Okay. So, but
So,
anyway.
Are we using that as a standard? What the United Nations considers a country?
No, I'm going to just say places we've been.
So it's however you're counting it.
Countries and territories.
Countries and territories.
Yeah.
In the United States.
What?
I'm asking a question.
I don't know what the question is.
You're counting countries and territories
I've been to.
you've been to.
In the world.
In the
Not
world.
just the United States.
Not just the United States.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how many places have you been to?
How many places have
Based
I
on
been to?
your like...
How I like process the information?
Yes.
I would need to think about it. Well, there's no one on this live, so I guess I can just count out loud. So I've been to...
I mean, it'll be a replay, but go ahead.
That's okay. When you see it in the future, you can talk to me about it. So I've been to... let's start from the top. I've been to Canada, okay? I've been to Mexico. I've been to Panama. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to the Cayman Islands. I've been to the Bahamas. Where else?
Oh, wait. And I only counted the places we've been
you're counting
together.
Together?
Yeah, because I've been to more than 17 countries if it's by myself.
Oh, okay. So then I got to start over. So Canada, Mexico, Panama, Jamaica.
Are you gonna count Martinique?
Oh yeah, Martinique. So that's 5.
So your criteria is that territories do count.
Territories do count, yeah. But what is Puerto Rico a territory of?
No,
What is Puerto Rico?
Well, that does
a territory
no. I just asked you, are you counting? How are you going to count? Just countries? Or are you putting countries and territories?
Countries, territories, and commonwealths.
As part of places you've been to.
As part of places.
That's what I asked. Whoever watches this, I asked, how are you going to count your list?
Yeah.
So if you're counting territories, then, like, you're counting the same thing I'm counting.
So if somebody asked me how many states I've been to, or how many places have I been to in the U.S., I would likely say
Count
something
Puerto
akin
Rico
to
too?
26 countries in one territory. 26 states in one territory.
You've been to 26 states?
I think I've been to 26 states. Me by myself, I think I've been to 26 states.
I don't know how many by myself. I don't know how many
I was
with
about
us
to say,
together either.
Off the bat, I know I've been to the 13 colonies. Let's get that out of the way immediately. So that's a halfway there for my 26.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the whole West Coast.
And
so that's another.
That's another 3.
3.
And I've also been to Florida. We're already at 18, baby. I think I'm gonna make it.
So yeah. So okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Basically, this is why this conversation has happened, is because we've been trying to count how many places we've been to, and it's a very confusing thing. And I don't know if everybody else has the same criteria like other
destinations.
No, I was gonna say travel content creators. Like, I don't know how many of them count, like, how are they counting? Like, if you're from, like, let's say you're from the UK and you're a travel content creator, are you counting the UK, or are you counting England by itself? Like, there's just so many ways you could count how many places you've been, visited, however you say it. So it's like, if you reside in one country, do you count that as somewhere you've been? I think yes. Visit, okay, I agree with the whole, like, don't count it as somewhere you visited because you live there.
Yes.
Fine.
Okay, sorry.
So I would say, I would say that I've been to the U.S. because what if all of a sudden I live in Argentina? If I live in Argentina now and somebody's like, oh, have you visited or been to the U.S.? I'll be like, yeah. They're like, oh, why don't you count that as one of the places you've been to?
Yeah,
because I used to live there. What if I live in several?
If you no longer live there, then you would count it.
But then what if you counted the place? Like, do I never count Argentina ever again?
I feel like most people would point out to you that that's where you live, so it wouldn't matter. You're counting from 0. You're counting from 0, and everybody else is starting at 1. Okay.
So if it's okay, I think that if it's somewhere you've been, I think wherever you live is somewhere you've been. So if you start in one country or territory and that's where you reside, you've been there regardless of where you end up living in the future. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that? Because that is the question. Is like, do you because you
if I get in my little canoe and I paddle over the Hudson and I now live in New York, right? I would still say that I've been to New Jersey, right?
Oh, right. That's true. For states, do you usually say you don't? Well, I guess you say you haven't visited New Jersey. You live in New Jersey.
I live in New Jersey.
So you've been there.
Yeah, but like if you talk to because I'm in a spicy mood. If you talk to your average New Yorker, not the transplants, we don't like you either. When you talk to the average New Yorker and they're like, and they haven't been anywhere because, New York's the center of the world. And they go, oh, where have you been? And you're like, oh, I've only been in Bed-Stuy. Like, I've never left Bed-Stuy. Bed-Stuy is all I know. Right? That's probably what they're gonna say. I've only been to New York because I've never left New York. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's kind of like what it is, right?
Is that you say you've been there? Not obviously that you visited,
right?
You live
but
there.
If I'm presently in New Jersey and somebody asks me what state how many states I've been to, I'm gonna start off by saying New Jersey because I'm in New Jersey, and that's where I am. And it's very obvious because that's where the conversation is taking place.
Right.
So it's like, oh, what states you've been to? It's like, well, New Jersey, right? So then from there, onward and forward from there. But if they're like, oh, how many states have you visited? I'd probably take a second to think about it. But yeah.
Look, they added so many things to live. We haven't done one of these in a long time.
We usually did them on the other app, not this one.
On YouTube, yeah. Anyway, so basically,
this is us.
Just to recap what we've learned today. if you are going to talk about where you've been as a traveler, you say, I've been to this many places, not visited, number one. Number two, because you've said you're going to talk about where you've been, not visited, you can count the place you reside in. Number three, this is a personal decision, I guess, but then you have to also decide if you're counting just countries based on whoever's list, the United Nations,
your personal
criteria, but you can also just say you're counting both countries and territories around the world, and that will help explain and put the not criteria, but basically set the stage for what your number is actually counting. Like I said 17, and that means for us countries we've been to together, not the ones that we've gone before we met each other or alone. Same thing for states. And I'm counting countries and territories, not just countries.
Yeah. I'm just trying to preserve the history and the legacy of these places that we've been to, but also recognize what it is. And I know it can come up a bit obtuse, but when I was like, oh, Puerto Rico, I'm not counting Puerto Rico as a country, and she was like, oh, but it is a country, and I'm like, so then why isn't Hawaii a country? And it's like, oh, because Hawaii is a state. And I'm like, oh, okay, now we're just delving deeper. Because I mean, if I really, really wanted to be what's the word I'm looking for? Contradictory or whatever, just for the sake of it, I'd be like, oh, so Texas is a country, right? They had their own embassy. That embassy,
but I was about to say,
that
but
embassy
that
still exists to this
that
day.
would be based on
It's a restaurant now. But
that would be based on your criteria, though.
Yeah, if I was trying to be just contradictory.
Yeah. You say that Hawaii and Texas count as countries.
As countries, yeah.
Guys, we've been literally talking about this off and on for months.
This isn't a water is wet conversation, because I know there was a whole thing on the internet about that a couple years ago. This is more when I guess it's more philosophical than this, but it's the difference between a layover and a stopover.
Right.
I'm sure that
which we literally had to
we've
research.
Had a couple of videos about, and there's lots of people that are like, oh, they're the same thing, and I'm like, they're not.
They're not.
They're not. But
there's actually a time. Well, we talk about it in the video.
Yeah, we're in agreement on that one.
That one, we looked it up and we figured out the time and all that stuff and what counts.
Say, you want to know the difference between a layover and a stopover?
Watch our video.
I'm not running to the gate.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe got a free breakfast that morning.
Woo! Talk to him.
But
for more information, please subscribe to The City and Beyond.
Anyway, whoever watches this, I hope it helps you, and
I hope you at least laughed a little bit.
And hopefully it's entertaining.
Please feel free to comment and tell us your opinion on it, and tell me why I'm right for marrying this woman who's smart enough to actually hold on to her debates the way that she does. Yeah, we love you. Have a good night.
Have a good night. This is what we're doing on a Saturday night. Wow.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.